All right, everybody, welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm DK, Devan Kline. I'm your visionary and co-founder. And listen, I love nothing more than playing the mentor figure. I never had one growing up. I always really wanted somebody to just say, hey, kid, like, here is how you do things, or like, this is a do and this is a don't, right? Just somebody along the way to give me some guidance and give me some direction. And so that's why I love podcasting so much. I connect with our members. I've been to over 140 gyms in the last couple of years, and I've met thousands and thousands of you and your families. And it's just been really cool to be able to listen and hear, what's working in your life, what isn't working in your life. And I've noticed something. And I wanted to bring that to you on today's episode. This episode is called 3 Tips to Run Your Life Like a Business, because I think there's so much opportunity as our members are beginning their health and wellness journey. That's oftentimes the lowest hanging fruit to be able to start to clean up other areas of life as well. And so, listen, we all have work to do. We all have goals, we all have responsibilities, desires, we all have challenges. We all have this gap from where we want to be to where we are right now. And I know that you have the gap because you're a human and you're not different, okay? We are the same. And the health and wellness journey as the kind of anchor to what you do every day, kind of showing up for yourself, it's an easy tool. You go somewhere, it's tangible, you do it. Right? And you feel the physical effects of it, but you also feel the mental effects of it, because to even get there in the first place, it's quite challenging. So the physical part of what we do every day as Burn members is obviously runneth over into mental, emotional, and sometimes even spiritual connection in the sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself, like belonging to a community. But that's not what I want to talk about today, okay? I want to take the other approach, the dark side of the moon, the thing that isn't so fun, and the thing that isn't, kind of up front in our lives. The thing, we look at our bodies in the mirror every day, but a lot of times we don't run our life like a business. And so what I wanted to do is just give you 3 tips, okay, on how to run your life like a business. And this really is something that I've started to broaden the conversation with in the gym when I'm talking to members, and I thought it might be a good one to bring to you here, because I always ask them, what's next? Right? Because people will come up to me and they'll tell me their story and they'll say, DK, listen, I was never a workout person before. I stepped into Burn Bootcamp. Your franchise partners, they're amazing. Like, they saved my life. I've met all of my best friends here. I'm coming here every day. I did 250 camps last year. I'm on fire. I'm mentally, physically, emotionally congruent. I'm just ready, and thank you so much. And I'm like, okay, that's great. High five. I acknowledge it. That's a way to take responsibility for yourself, way to not break the promises that you had set to yourself like we'd done in the past. Okay, great. What's next? That's my question. And oftentimes when somebody is not just checking, but filling the fitness box, the health box, they're really excited about it, right? And they should be really excited about it. But anticipation is power, right? And what I find is that we get really excited, but we don't anticipate what's coming down the line. And so what I wanted to do is hit the 3 areas that I think are where a personal life and a business kind of intersect. And maybe this could be an exploration episode for you on what's next. What's next for you now that you are nailing your workouts, you feel great there, you're consistent. What are you going to compound on top of that to make your life better? All right, 3 things. Number 1 is going to be finances, okay? All business has to know the numbers. All business, number 2, has to have proper time management. And number 3 is positioning, or what I'll call marketing. And all business needs marketing and positioning. And as a human being, you need those 3 things too, all right? Financial responsibility, financial literacy is how the world goes around. And if you're somebody that doesn't know the answer to this question, then this might be a world that you want to begin to explore. What was your top line in your life last month? What was your bottom line? How much income did you and your family bring in versus how much did you spend, and then how much did you save, right? Because before you take another step in that regard, it's my opinion and my strong opinion that can't just be one person's responsibility in the household. Now, if you're a single person living on their own or a single parent, obviously that has to be your responsibility, and you've got to know the numbers, even if you're not, quote unquote, a numbers person. But more often than not, you see one partner of the two partners in a relationship, one will be like the numbers person and the other one will not be the numbers person, and will rely on the other one to really know the numbers only. Be like, I don't need to know my finances because, he or she or they know the finances. And so, listen, I think this is a mistake. I think this is an area that as a family, we should all be responsible for finances. Our VP of finance here at Burn HQ, who really oversees Burn Brands fiscally, her name is Pat Harding. Pat had famously said, who's on the finance team? Everybody's on the finance team, right? And that's what I want you to consider in your household. And so how do you do that? Okay, that's a great question. First, you need a meeting. Morgan and I, we meet on our personal finances 90 minutes a month. And we go over what we call our P&L, or our profit and loss statement for the month before. How much money did we bring in? We get paid a salary by Burn Bootcamp. We get distributions as owners of Burn Bootcamp. We have multiple businesses that are underneath Burn Brands. We're entrepreneurs, so we've got some diversified income that comes in, passive ownership in some companies, volume equity ownership in some other companies that really help support Burn Bootcamp. So we have all of these different things coming in. Those are all of our revenue line items, and we add all those up every single month. All sources of income, no matter whether it's coming from interest on a money market account or it's coming from a salary or a bonus structure at your corporate job, that revenue is really important to know. How much is coming in, right? And then how much is going out. And I promise you this is elementary, and I know that you already know this, and I know that you know how to do this, but I could bet that the vast majority of us are not doing this, right? Tony, you doing this? Tony's doing this. Okay, I don't know. I run into a lot of people that don't do this, okay? So if you're one of those people, I need you to really dive into those numbers, become a numbers person, okay? Be financially responsible, learn how to speak the language of finance, especially in your home, okay? Then we can anticipate the future. Then we can start to set goals around, hey, where do we want to be, right? And is our current month in alignment to where we want to be? Because if you say, hey, my wife and I, we want to retire at 50 years old and we want to have $10 million net worth and we want to go travel the country, for 10 years and not have to work, maybe work, but not have to work. Maybe if that's something like your goal, well, now that there's this exit strategy to all of the revenue streams that you have in your life, and you'll know whether last month was in alignment with that or not. Because if you lost money in your personal life last month, you were adding to your net worth. You weren't getting closer to your goals. So financial responsibility, fiscal literacy would be tip number one on how to align your personal life like a professionally managed business, and like Pat and her team. All right? Have those 90-minute meetings. Get those on the books. And if you have any questions about what happens during those 90-minute meetings, you can comment or review on a podcast and ask more questions. You can go to Instagram or YouTube or Facebook. For me personally, Devan.Kline, or anywhere on Burn Bootcamp. And definitely we will help you further set goals and do some strategic financial planning. Okay, number 2 is time management. This one goes pretty quick. Again, the key theme throughout these 3 tips is going to be anticipation, knowing the road ahead, being able to create space in your life where down the road, I already can visualize where I'm going to be. And when I visualize where I'm going to be, when I use this thing called the reticular activating system that sits in the prefrontal cortex, when I use that little mechanism that says the more I visualize, the more I think about the future, the more I manifest it in vision, the more likely it will become a reality. This is science. This is a real thing. You are in alignment to the visions that you have for your life, meaning whatever blueprint that you visualize for yourself, you will be congruent if you are aligned to that. You will be incongruent if you are not aligned to that. We have this burning desire as a human being, a very powerful drive to align ourselves with the vision that we set forth, to make sure that the schematic that we set out for in life, that we're on track for that. Like if you were building a skyscraper and you had blueprints for the building, you know as you build the building whether you're on track or not. So where is your blueprints? Where's your architectural blueprints for your life? And that's what we're talking about today. So time management is really important, right? What are you doing with your time? Are you anticipating? This is my first tip. Are you anticipating where you're going to be and what you're going to be doing next week? Okay. A lot of us, what I find in the gym when I'm having conversations is sometimes we don't even know what we're doing next day. If I'm like, hey, show me your schedule for tomorrow and show me your schedule for tomorrow and how well you know it. Then I'll show you your level of activity, and I'll show you that your level of activity will equal your level of success. And we got to make sure that that level of activity is in alignment with the success you're going to achieve, which is in alignment with the goals and the architectural drawings that you're blueprinting out. So, we need to say, that's your blueprint. Those are your drawings. That skyscraper you're building, that's your skyscraper. That's not mine, right? That's not Burns. It's like whatever it is to you. If you're like DK, I enjoy living day to day and the freedom of that, and I don't want to anticipate in the future. Then my only thing is, you better not have like super specific goals then. Because if you have super specific goals, you're going to have super specific activity. You follow what I'm saying on that? And so the more specific your goals are, the more you anticipate whatever those blueprints are for you, the more specific those are and the bigger those are, the more you're going to have to manage your time in order to get there. And so my favorite time management strategy, I did a time management podcast on the DK show. We'll link it in the show notes, Tony. Don't forget to link it in the show notes because that is a great episode, and I go deep on like 10 different ways to do time management. But my favorite one, since we have a limited amount of time here with you today, my favorite one is time blocking, right? Where every hour of my day is broken up into, it's not bifurcated into personal and professional. Every hour of the waking day is broken up into 15-minute increments, and those 15-minute increments can be eaten up by big chunks of time. That's okay. But also, if the default mechanism is I only spend 15 minutes doing something, and then the caveat to that, or the most important rule to that, is during those 15 minutes or 4-hour blocks, whatever it is, I'm getting to the outcome as fast as possible. I'm not defaulting to hour increments when the outcomes for my activity could take 15 minutes. Do you follow me? So I'm just shortening the amount of time the standard meeting is so that we can be fast, outcome oriented. And if I need a long meeting, we eat up multiple blocks. But here's the caveat underneath it that you need to know. One working rule of this philosophy is that you do not multitask. You do not multitask. That is not virtuous, right? Being like, I did 5 things in 15 minutes. You just did 5 things okay in 15 minutes. I want you to do one thing great. One thing in 15 minutes that got to an outcome that really moved the needle, that took your full focus and your full attention. Okay, you follow me? Hopefully, as I'm talking here, you're starting to think about, man, do I have these goals? Do I know what my life looks like when I'm sitting on a rocking chair? Do I know what my life looks like? Do I know what my blueprints are? Do I know the stories that I want to share with my grandchildren when I'm older? And am I aligning my time management to those things now? Am I anticipating the future? Do I know what's going to be happening next week? All right. And then tip number 3 is positioning. Okay. And this is my favorite one. This is probably my number 1 go-to tip. And I wanted to save it for last because this is the one I think my interactions in the gym always lead to. Okay. There's this step that I think comes right after a renewal of energy in your life. And so if you've used Burn Bootcamp to find that sense of self that's always been there, that you've always really wanted to come out, that kind of tiger in the cage that you finally found the key to unlock at Burn Bootcamp, it was like that strategy for you that that one thing, it kind of opened Pandora's box. It released the dragon that was already inside of you, and now you're just like on fire and you're ready to go. Usually the next step after that, and the one that people have such a hard time with, is sharing your story. Share your story. In a brand, that's marketing and positioning, sharing our story, sharing our message. In a personal life, that's you either sharing stories with people heart to heart, or sharing stories with one en masse, meaning like on social media, which I tend to prefer. But it's tapping in to this vulnerable side of you, this real, this organic, this authentic side of you that's always been there, but you hadn't yet got the energy inside of you, the confidence inside of you to really let that story out. You've always thought that your story was, nobody wants to hear my story. It's not that great. It's not that interesting. Listen, I'm telling you, look at me. Your story is so interesting. It's so incredibly interesting. It's so deep and intricate, and you are such an amazing, incredible human being that has overcame all of these things in your life to get you to where you are now. And the cool part about it is that's not where you're going to be, and there's more of your story to tell in the future. And I encourage you to lay down chapter 1. I'm an author, right? We're getting ready to release a book in June called Burn, a 5-step strategy to inner and outer strength rather. And this is one of the main themes, is like the vulnerability on newfound energy that comes from kind of mastering, or at least gaining some significant momentum in your health and wellness journey, sharing that out, sharing all your vulnerabilities, sharing what your challenges are, but also sharing what your goals are. You know, I was somebody who would never share a story until I decided to get the encouragement to step inside of a Burn boot camp. Now I am the leader in my inner circle because I did the hard thing, and I realized that my vulnerability was my therapy. And now, because my vulnerability is my therapy, now I'm sharing my story with you, and there's a little template for you right there. I wanted, this is what was stopping me, until one day, that whatever happened for you, that was that breakthrough, and now, look at me now, right? So that's a little framework that you can use to share your story, but that is so important for the next step in your journey, because here's what happens. People are so inspired by it, no matter what the story is, no matter what journey you've been on, people are going to relate to you. And if they don't relate to your specific life events, they're going to relate to your vulnerability and your willingness to put yourself out on the ledge and to really be an inspiration for other people. So they say, you never master anything until you're willing to teach other people what you learned. That's what I'm saying. Once you've filled the bucket of your health, your fitness, your wellness journey, and you're crushing it every day, now it's your job to pay it forward. Now it's your job to share your story, to become vulnerable, and to help even just one person. I don't care if it's 1 or 1 million, just to help that one person find that key to unlock that tiger in their own cage, to let what's always been inside of them, to let that out. Man, you're unlocking that with just one story. So this is how I think about the next level. This is how I think about running your life like a business. And these are 3 things that I try to practice all the time. Financial literacy, being responsible fiscally, really managing my time and making sure my activity is in alignment with my success that I need to go achieve the goals that I set, and the positioning and the stories that I tell, the personal brand, the reputation that I have as a human being is my marketing as a human. And now watch all of the opportunities in your life open up once you've compounded these 3 things on top of your success with your health and your wellness. All right, how's that sound, everyone? Can you pick up what I'm putting down here? All right, I'm glad. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you like the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I know some of you are listening right now. Listen, I know you're listening and you haven't reviewed yet because I see the numbers. There's not enough reviews for how many listeners there are. So please do that if you love Burn Bootcamp. And if it needs to go deeper, I'm gonna put on your franchise partner if you love them. I'm gonna put it on your trainers. If you love your trainers, review the Burn Bootcamp podcast, and we appreciate that in advance. But I also wanted to add one more piece of value before we get out today. There's an episode that I did in, December, episode 293. It's called Routine Mastery. Practical tips for building success every day, which will be a nice addition to go deeper or hit this stuff from a different angle if you're really into mastering your inner and outer strength. And don't forget to pre-order Burn on Amazon. It's 5 steps to achieving a 5-step strategy to achieving inner and outer strength. We're so excited. Thank you for signing us, Hachette, to bring our mission or our message to the entire world. All right, so that episode will be linked in the show notes, and we'll end it like we always do. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.